Hi everybody, welcome to or back to my channel. My name is Crystal Bay and today, and this is Alora. And we're gonna be getting a little spicy because today we're gonna talk about how I became a conspiracy theorist. Dun dun dun! Yeah, follow along because we about to get into it.
Ow!
So, me and my good friend have been talking a lot lately about like conspiracy kind of related topics. He told me this crazy story about how he was doing Instacart and then he, came across this group of folks in the woods and it was wasn't giving what it needed to be giving. And so yeah, we have been kind of like talking about things. And he's been more of a conspiracy theorist for me for like the longest time. I'm not naming names, but you know who you are. And recently, I feel like I've definitely hopped on the train really hard, and I don't think I'll be getting off the train. But I just want to kind of like break things down because like when people say conspiracy theorist in like today's media, it's very like gaslighty and it's like this person is crazy or like they don't know what they're talking about kind of thing. But let's just like literally break down what the word means because we've also kind of gotten away from what words mean. So, to make secret plans jointly to commit an unlawful or harmful act, and then obviously a theory is a supposition or system of ideas intended to explain something. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about me being a black woman, a black person in America, because with our history, you kind of know where I'm going. So, this might make some people uncomfortable, but lynch mobs were an actual thing. There were actually people who sat around and conspired to lynch other people. Okay, so it's not conspiracy theory, like that's, actual fact that happened.
No.
Then you got to think about like wartime, war crimes that had been committed. Those were groups of people that sat around plotting and conspiring to like commit these heinous acts for whatever political ends or, what have you. So, fact. Then you have, of course, what we're dealing with a lot today with our food and our water and environmental racism, certain things with big pharma. There are people who actually do sit around and think to themselves, how can we do X, Y, and Z so that X, Y, and Z happens? It's a conspiracy fact. Then on the biblical side of things, you have to look at like Ephesians 6:12, right? We're told that we don't really wrestle against flesh and blood. We wrestle against like the powers and the principalities, like spiritual wickedness in high places, like the governors, like these governing authorities and things like that. And I think a lot of people kind of glance over that and just kind of apply it to like spiritual warfare, which of course that's what it is. It's like, spiritual forces conspiring. Because when you look at Satan at the beginning of time, like saying, I'm going to be like the Most High. I'm going to have these secret meetings with a third of the angels, and we all going to do this thing, kind of thing. So it's not an outlandish thought. This is my whole setup. It's not an outlandish thought to come to the realization that, oh snap, people, beings, demonic forces conspire against their target. Then of course you have like the plots to have John the Baptist killed, the plots to have Jesus killed. These people be conspiring. Now, I've set up all of that to kind of get to some of the conspiracy theories I've started to believe in. Now, don't call me crazy, okay? Because we've just established folks be conspiring. All right. Everybody take a deep breath. Because this is about to rock some people's beliefs. Over the past several months or so, I have started to become a flat earther. Don't come for me. Do not come for me. Argue with your mom, okay? Because like I said, as you study history and as you study the Bible, things just start not making sense in a way that's like, well, let's try to make it make sense. So when you look at I'm going to give you scripture, okay? So you can go back and read it for yourself. So when you look at Psalm 104, verses 1 through 9. When you look at Psalm 75, verse 3. When you look at Job 38, 4 through 6. When you look at Proverbs 8, 27 through 29. Genesis 1. When you look at Revelation 7, verse 1. And so many more scriptures. The Bible tells you what the earth looks like. And it's not a sphere, is what I've come to learn. Like, as I've been studying, it's not a sphere, guys. It talks about the earth having corners. It talks about the earth having foundations and pillars. Not one axis being tilted and, like, spinning. It talks about it literally having pillars at the bottom. It talks about, like, the boundaries around the earth and how it's, like, literally a circle with boundaries, and then obviously the firmament on top. So what it's describing literally, if I had to put it in terms we understand, is like a snow globe. Like, that's what the earth looks like. And when you think about international flight patterns, like some of these astronauts that have come out and said, like, guys, we've literally never been to space, like, we cannot leave the earth because of the firmament on top. Like, all of these things just kind of start to make sense in a way that's like, we're not living on a sphere. And then when you look at the flood, right? Have you ever poured water on a basketball? What happens when you pour water on a basketball? All the water just kind of falls down. You can't flood a sphere. So when you look at the flood, it would make sense if, you know, God is God and what he's saying is true, that it's kind of like a snow globe, because you can flood, flood something that looks like that. Very interesting stuff, guys. Like I said, don't come for me. Read it for yourself and, you know, kind of make up your own evaluation. But I've come to believe that in God's words, it's a circle with a boundary and a dome on top, with foundations and pillars at the bottom to keep us steady. So then you gotta ask, like, what does anybody have to gain from convincing people that the world is a sphere? Well, I thought that to myself. I was like, well, why is there this, like, huge push for, like, this narrative, this belief system? And then I was like, oh, it's about your beliefs. It's about shifting your belief system. If I can get you to believe in this and get you to disbelieve God, then I have become your God. And then when you have somebody or something that has kind of positioned themselves as your God, you're more easy to control. The other one that I've started to believe, well, they literally tell this one outright, but population control. I 1,000% believe that the folks are conspiring to control the population. And they kind of use rhetoric like the earth is finite with finite resources and things like that. But then, you know, I think to myself again, look at the book of Genesis. Look at Genesis 1. An infinite God created the earth with everything on it, with the ability to recreate infinitely. So where do they get the idea of things being finite and resources being finite if everything can reproduce infinitely, right? It doesn't make any sense. But then, if I had to make it make sense, I would probably say genetically modified things cannot reproduce infinitely.
Mommy!
And maybe that's where they get this idea of finite resources. I don't know. Think about if it makes sense to you. Think about if it makes sense to you. Because to me, it started not to make sense. Because when you look at Genesis 1, 11 through 13, Genesis 1, 20 through 31, every living thing has the ability to reproduce infinitely because we were created by and in the image of an infinite God. So resources being finite does not make sense to me. But, you know, hey, in conclusion, don't take my word for it. Folks be conspiring. And we can discuss in the comments. But I'll leave you with this. The more questions you start to ask, the more you start to seek answers. The more you start to seek answers, the more you start to seek truth. And the more that you start to seek truth, the more God will give you understanding. If you like this kind of video, this is definitely a departure. Like I said, we getting a little spicy, getting into some things. And honestly, I would venture to say if this video gets like a little fact check thing on it, I'm probably right. So if you like this kind of video, go ahead and give me a like, comment, and subscribe. I definitely want to have a conversation with you guys and see what you guys think, because the math has not been mathing for me as I've kind of gotten into my studying. And turn on your post notification bell so that you're notified anytime I make an upload. And I will see you in the next one. What do you think about that? You want to tell the people bye?
Bye.
Bye.